Hey there, hopeful tribe. Do you know what love is? Some say it's a many splendored thing. Others say it conquers all. But if you want to know what we think, this is the video for you.
So we decided to do a different kind of 3 questions podcast today, where we actually do a reaction to the Wu Wei Wisdom people. What are their names, Steph?
So it's Alexandra and David Lees. And yeah, they have a great channel, and they share a lot of wisdom about life lessons. For example, what is love?
I think they kind of resemble us. I feel like they're the UK version of us. So I'm all about them.
Let us know in the comments if you agree with that. I'm not.
Not sure. Don't know if we're really twins.
Okay, David. So let's begin with some definitions. Love and relationships.
Well, this is an interesting subject, Alex, because this is a subject I talk about a lot with my clients. And I do think there is a separation here with a lot of my clients don't understand the separation. They see love and loving relationships all piled into one tight ball. And what I want to do is to try and separate them. So what I would say to you is take a moment, and when you're thinking about the word love, what do you mean? What do you mean by that word love? Now, most of my clients will say, when I say to them, define love to me, they'll say things like caring, nurturing, unconditional. And I would say, well, I'd like you to rethink that, because for me, love is a description of an emotional feeling. So let me repeat that. Love is a description of an emotional feeling. So you can love your parents, you can love your partner, you can love your children, you can love your pets, you could love chocolate, you could love where you live, you could love your house. What you're doing is you're describing an emotional feeling. Now, this is so important in our model, because I'm going to go back to a statement I make on every video. Remember, you are the creator of your emotions. You are not the victim of them. So if love is a description of an emotional feeling, then only you can create that emotional feeling.
Let's talk about that. What is love?
Okay.
What do you think of David's definition?
I'd agree with David's definition that love is an emotional feeling. But if you'd asked me a year ago, I may have given the other definitions that are a demonstration of love. So demonstrations of love are caring and nurturing and all those things. And also I agree with him that we can love many things. But yeah, I would agree that it's an emotional feeling when you break it down to its essence. What do you think? Or do you agree with David? Or
I do, but you know, my mom used to always say love is an action word, right? So it is also the demonstration of love, I think, is also love. There's the emotional feeling, and then there's the demonstration of it. And I think it's fair enough to call that love too. Because I definitely feel loved when somebody's demonstrating their love for me, you know? So
yeah,
I think it's kind of both, you know?
David, I think a lot of people would say, I give love to my partner, or I give love to my mother, and my partner gives love back to me, or my mother gives love back to me, or my partner doesn't love me enough. My partner doesn't give me enough love back. And it's almost like we're talking about a transactional exchange of love.
And that's why the definition is so important. You've just hit the nail right on the head there, Alex. So if you love somebody, you can create a feeling of love for them, but you can't give them love. You can demonstrate that you're creating that feeling by the way you look, by the way you interact with them, by the way you care for them, by the way you nurture them, by the way whatever. And all you're doing is you're giving them, you're showing them that you are creating that feeling of love for them, but you're not giving them the love. It's not a commodity that you can give to them, or in fact that they can give to you. They can demonstrate that they love you, but they can't give you love. And this is so important, this basic teaching.
I want to pick you up on that again though, David, because a lot of people would say, well, when my partner is kind and considerate and does nice things for me and is courteous and, you know, gives me gifts or showers me with attention, I feel loved. That creates that green light, that positive feeling within me because of what they've done.
Yes.
So you're saying it's slightly different?
No, I'm saying that's correct.
Okay.
So what they do, they're showering you with gifts. They're saying you're a princess. They're saying you're beautiful, and you create a feeling of love.
So I'm still creating it. They're not giving it to me.
No, they're not giving it to you like this cup of green tea. They're not saying, here's a cup of love.
Yeah.
Have this. Love is not a kind of a badge that you wear or a tattoo that somebody gives to you, and then you've got it the rest of your life. Love is a description of an emotional feeling. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. Very wonderful emotion, strong emotion. Millions of songs and poetry, thousands of films have been made about love. The feeling of love is immense. I hope you've all experienced the feeling of love. It's a wonderful feeling, but you create the feeling.
And that's, I guess, where the problem lies, because a lot of people, they create love within themselves, or that nice, positive, warm, fuzzy feeling. If people pay them attention, are positive towards them, say the right things to them, they experience that feeling of love within themselves. But as soon as they don't get the positive attention, the compassion, the people saying the right things to them, praising them, it's like the love disappears. They no longer have that wonderful experience.
And that's why this teaching is so important, because on the example that you just shared, what they're doing, they're looking for someone else or something else as the reason or the validation that they create the feeling of love. So what they're doing is saying, I will only create love if this set of circumstances or this person does something, then I will create love. Or I won't create love if because of the way that they're acting or the way they looked at me or the way they responded to me. Therefore, I'm not going to create love.
So we're making a choice. We're making a choice to depend on that other person, to think well of ourselves and to have those, to create those green light positive feelings of love. But we can also make a choice to create those positive feelings of love without another person.
We could make that choice, Alex, and it's even more important than what you said, because what we're doing is we're giving our power away to other people.
Mm-hmm.
We're giving them the power before we create love. We're saying, I will only create love if you do or act in a certain way. If you act in the way that I think a partner, a parent, a child, a colleague at work should act, and then I'll create this feeling of love. The same goes if you call it a feeling of validation. The same goes if you call it a feeling of worth. See, all these feelings, that's why this teaching is so vital, that I try and say on every session. You are the creator of your emotions. You are not the victim. No one can give you a cup of love. No one can give you a cup of value. No one can give you a cup of worth. That's only you can create that, and you're creating it from what you see in front of you and your perception of what's happening around you.
And your perception of yourself, of course.
Well, that's what we're going to come on to, because that's the most important thing. So let me just clarify this opening statement, because a lot of people listening to this will absolutely resist this, I can tell you. They will not like this teaching. So if you're in a relationship, you can demonstrate that you love your partner, say. Let's talk about partners. You can demonstrate that you love your partner by the way you talk, act, do whatever you're doing. You're demonstrating that you're creating this feeling of love for him or her. And then she or he should be doing the same. They should be demonstrating to you that they are creating a feeling of love for you.
Yeah.
And so that is, then you can say that we are in love. We are sharing love. We are both choosing to create that feeling of love for each other.
And is this then what constitutes a loving relationship?
All right. Let's go back to the question. Who creates that feeling of love? Where does it come from?
Yeah. So yeah, I absolutely agree. But about a year ago, I wouldn't have. Actually, before I discovered these folks, I wouldn't have. So I always agreed with the statement, you're responsible for your own feelings. I agreed with that, but almost looked at it as though, like, hey, I almost agreed with it intellectually, and even in a way like, well, if I feel a certain way, it's my fault. But I never looked at it as though I was creating my own feelings. But I realize, yeah, absolutely. Now, I absolutely agree with you. Create your own feelings of love. And when you're in a loving, when you have a loving partner or someone else who loves you, well, that supports you in creating that. It helps you create those good feelings, but you're the one who creates them. And I do agree with David that that's so important to know, because say you lose your loving partner, are you never going to feel love again? Are you never going to be allowed to feel love again if you never have another partner? Well, that would be ridiculous, So yeah, it isn't like someone pours a cup of love into us or hands us a cup and that's full of love. We create those feelings, and those around us who demonstrate love help us to support us in creating those feelings. But I absolutely agree with that. We create the feeling of love,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think proof of this concept is when people aren't loving themselves, sometimes it doesn't matter how much someone's demonstrating love for them, they still can't feel it. They can't feel love, because even though there's all this, clear, palpable demonstration of love going on, they don't believe they're worthy of love, and so they just can't feel it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they haven't given themselves permission to create that feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So for me, again, it's about the definition. When I work with my clients, I ask them to look at the word relationship. And for me, the word relationship gives you a clue. It's the ability to relate. Can you relate to a person? Can you have that conversation? Can you communicate? Can you listen? Can you talk? Can you have that closeness of the relationship? Now, what you're looking for in what you said in the opening, a loving relationship, you're looking that you create a feeling of love for the person, they create a feeling of love for you,
Yeah.
and you can relate.
Okay.
And you can
So
communicate.
there's three things going on here.
Because that's the most important thing.
Okay, so there's the two individuals creating love for themselves, creating love for the other person, and then there is the energy of the relationship. Those three components.
Absolutely. Now, the energy of the relationship, and I've often said that story. When I left university, one of my first jobs was with marriage guidance, it was called then. In the UK, that's now called Relate, which is quite strange, and it's the basis of this teaching. And I can remember my mentor then said something to me, this is 45 years ago, and I still remember it. She said, when you go into that counseling room, you've got to remember there's three energies. There's the energy of the two people and the energy of the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as much as one person wants the relationship to work, if the other one doesn't, the relationship will not work, because that's the nature of a relationship. Two people wanting to relate. Now, you may have differences, you may have different views and different perceptions and different ideas and different ways that you should bring up your children or run your home or what countries you live in or what careers you do, but you should have the ability to relate and to talk and communicate about those.
And I guess, are we talking about relating on a fundamental level? So whether it be core values or core beliefs that you have a commonality with?
I think so. In that very closeness, as some of my clients would call something like soulmates or soul partners, on a much deeper level, the core values that you're talking about. When you are creating, when two people are creating a feeling of love for each other, then getting down and communicating on that very core level should be much easier. Now, there might be differences on what the value of those core values are, but if you love each other, then that communication can happen much more easily. And then you're bringing together the energy of love and the relationship into a oneness.
So our third question for the day is, what is a loving relationship?
Yeah. So, yeah, I would have looked at it a few years ago more simply, sort of like a loving relationship is when I love a person and they love me and we demonstrate love for each other. But I really, yeah, and I really love the way that David explained it, the three energies that are involved. I would even call it like maybe more than three energies, actually. I'd call it 5 energies because you can't just create a feeling of love for someone else and they create a feeling of love for you and it work. You have to first create a feeling of love for yourself. That's one energy. You have to create a feeling of love for them. That's the second energy. And then they have to create a feeling of love for you and them. That's 4. And then the entire relationship, you know, because sometimes there are relationships where on one side, a person's creating a feeling of love for the other person, but they don't have much love for themselves. And that other person has both love for themselves and love for their partner. And it won't work. Things break down because one of you isn't loving yourself enough, you know, to make it really work. So, yeah, I love the way that he broke it down.
Yeah, I really appreciated the way he broke that down. And I think that, you know, that core part where, you know how to create a feeling of love for yourself is foundational for any relationship, you know. Of course, your relationship with yourself, right, depends on that. But any relationship you attempt to have after that is dependent on your own relationship with yourself and your ability to create love for yourself and your ability to demonstrate love for yourself. These are really important, you know?
Yeah. I want to say one last thing on that, though. I think we complicate it more than we need to, because that ability to create love for ourselves, it's the same as you creating love for the other person. Right? You want the best for the other person. You want to nurture the other person. You want to make sure they're okay. You know, if you have an ability to create love for anybody or anything, you can create that feeling for yourself. I think sometimes we complicate it, though.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, trauma will mess with our beliefs about ourselves and make us question whether we're truly worthy of love. So that's where it gets complicated, right? In the history. That's why I think inner child work is so powerful, because if you can love the child within you, then, you know, sometimes you can come back to loving yourself as a grown-up. So, yeah. Pretty awesome.
Yeah. We want to thank you for listening today. Our internet was down at home and we wound up recording at the WeWork near our house. It's a lovely joint. We really were liking it, but there was a little bit of maybe ambient noise or whatever. But yeah, it's been fun recording here at the WeWork near our house.
Yeah. Do you remember the name of that nice lady who helped us for like an hour?
Don't remember. Nice lady. Downstairs.
Anyway, thank you, WeWork Oakland.
Bye-bye, Hopeful Tribe. See you next time.